Elias stepped off the shuttle into the main docking bay of the orbital station, and the first thing he noticed was the smell, somewhere between ozone, machine oil, and the faintest hint of alien orchids. The place buzzed with low hums, flickering lights, and the distant clang of maintenance bots arguing over whose turn it was to polish the gravlifts. He adjusted his tool belt and reminded himself that he was here for calibration, not diplomacy, though judging by the panicked glances of the station staff, it might as well have been interstellar hostage negotiation. Whispers followed him as he moved along the polished corridors. "Don't get near her. She hates humans. Whatever you do, don't." The last warning dissolved into a stifled cough from a hovering aide who almost knocked over a hovering tea tray. Elias grinned to himself. If humans were intimidating, he thought, aliens had a flair for the dramatic. He had heard of Lysera before arriving, of course, the warrior princess with ears long enough to twitch like delicate radar dishes, eyes sharp as a neutron knife, and a temper rumored to melt titanium with a single glare. And yet, as he rounded a corner, he saw her not in a blaze of fury but standing silently, her entourage frozen in perfect formation around her like statues with serious posture issues. She was beautiful in that alien, slightly unsettling way. Her long ears moved independently, tracking the subtle vibrations of the room, and her hair shimmered with metallic highlights that caught the flickering lights. She wasn't glaring. She wasn't radiating the kind of wrath that could vaporize a small moon. She was just looking. The council chamber where he was scheduled to perform calibrations was a cathedral of technology. Transparent walls displaying rotating star charts, floating consoles that beeped in oddly musical intervals, and chairs that seemed designed to judge posture as much as hold bodies. Advisors hovered anxiously near Lysera, while soldiers' armor reflected the room's neon glow, clanking as if nervous of each other's existence. Elias felt out of place, like a human in a penguin parade, and muttered under his breath, "If anyone asks, I come in peace." A maintenance drone buzzed past, dumping a harmless puff of lubricant on his sleeve. "Great," he said. "First alien water fountain." Then, without warning, she moved. Lysera glided past the rows of frozen officials, ignoring protocol, ignoring fear, and sat beside him. Elias choked on a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Her eyes, sharp, calculating, almost impossibly vast, met his. She didn't bark an order. She didn't issue a glare strong enough to set a small ship on fire. She simply asked, "May I stay here?" And the words were quieter than the whir of the gravlifts, yet somehow louder than the collective tension in the room. Elias swallowed, attempted a joke about the chairs being more dangerous than the council, and nearly tripped on a floating cable in the process. One twitch of her long ear suggested she had caught his pun. One brief, unguarded smirk curved her lips, quickly vanished under the weight of her composure. In that suspended moment, Elias realized something astonishing. The terrifying alien princess everyone warned him about wasn't terrifying at all. She was just human, in her own lonely, complicated, galaxy-spanning way. Elias stared at the council chamber, still trying to convince himself that gravity hadn't betrayed him and that he wasn't hallucinating. Lysera sat beside him with an elegance that could make a black hole blush, ears twitching as though sensing every minor quiver of the room. Advisors whispered behind floating holoscreens, their words bouncing off the walls in a jumble of alien languages that might have contained urgent warnings or recipes for space soup. Soldiers shifted uneasily, armor clanking like metallic maracas, and one accidentally elbowed a console that beeped indignantly in response. Elias couldn't help a small laugh. "Friendly place," he muttered, and Lysera's eyes flicked toward him, the faintest twitch of amusement betraying the stoic mask she usually wore. The council's agenda was as dense as a neutron star's crust. Orbital trade negotiations, maintenance schedules for the station's quantum stabilizers, and, somehow, the correct way to arrange ornamental asteroid fragments in the lobby. Elias's job was to calibrate the gravlifts, making sure the flow of zero-G in the chamber wouldn't send anyone spiraling into a wall or each other. As he moved to the first console, Lysera leaned slightly closer, her metallic hair catching the holographic starlight, and whispered, Do humans always look so anxious when chairs don't hover perfectly? Elias blinked, unsure whether to be insulted or relieved she had broken the silence. Only when the chairs might try to eat you, he said, pointing to a particularly precarious floating seat that wobbled like a drunk satellite. She let out a tiny, almost imperceptible laugh, and one of her long ears flicked sideways, perhaps in genuine amusement. The meeting dragged on, punctuated by awkward technical mishaps and Elias's attempts to joke about the absurdity of alien bureaucracy. At one point, a hovering advisor nearly collided with a gravlift cable, prompting Elias to quip, "That's why they invented helmets, right?" Lysera's faint smile widened for a fraction of a second, and Elias felt a surge of cautious optimism. She wasn't scowling. She wasn't sending assassination-level glares. She was curious, observing him in the way someone might watch a cat attempt zero-gravity somersaults, half critical, half entertained. Then the room jolted. A warning light flickered, indicating a minor malfunction in the station's stabilization matrix. Hollow projections wobbled like jelly, and advisors flailed, attempting to recalibrate the system without touching the wrong panel and triggering a catastrophic chain reaction. Elias, heart thudding, realized this was his moment to shine, or implode spectacularly. Lysera's eyes sharpened, not with anger, but with that intense focus of someone used to taking command in emergencies. He whispered instructions into the console, hands dancing over touchpads and holographic interfaces, while Lysera leaned closer, offering occasional suggestions. Her voice quiet, calm, and surprisingly, collaborative. By the time the stabilization matrix hummed smoothly again, the chamber exhaled collectively, advisors blinking as if unsure whether to bow, salute, or faint, while soldiers relaxed their rigid stances. Elias, cheeks warm, glanced at Lysera. Her long ears twitched, eyes softened, and she tilted her head just enough to suggest approval without breaking protocol. "You're not as clumsy as I feared," she murmured, and he almost choked on a nervous chuckle. The alien princess, the one everyone warned him to avoid, had chosen to stay beside him through the chaos, laughing at the absurdity of the situation and perhaps, just perhaps, beginning to trust him. In a galaxy governed by fear, protocol, and impossible expectations, Elias realized he had found something remarkable. A fleeting, fragile bridge between worlds built on humor, courage, and the simple act of sitting together. The following day, the station seemed smaller, somehow less intimidating, as though the previous council's chaos had reshaped its corridors into something human-scaled. Elias navigated the hallways with less stiffness, nodding to hovering aides who now smiled when he passed, and dodging maintenance drones that beeped warnings like mischievous children. Lysera's presence beside him the day before had left ripples he hadn't expected. For the first time, he realized that alien royalty wasn't some untouchable myth, but a being who laughed quietly at absurdity, felt exhaustion in the same way, and perhaps feared loneliness as much as anyone. He found her in the observation deck, long ears flicking as she studied a nebula spinning lazily outside the station window. "I hope you're not following me," she said, voice smooth and teasing, though her posture betrayed curiosity. "I was," he admitted, grinning, "but mostly because someone has to make sure your lunch doesn't float off the table." She rolled her eyes, but the corner of her mouth twitched upward. "You humans are absurdly persistent." Their conversations grew easier, punctuated by jokes about gravlifts that insisted on unpredictable trajectories, hovering chairs that swayed like drunken moons, and the occasional misbehaving holoscreen that displayed embarrassing security footage of dignitaries tripping over their ceremonial robes. Lysera's laughter, rare and delicate, became a background melody in the otherwise formal station. The rumors about her cruelty and disdain for humans persisted outside these walls, but inside, Elias saw the truth. She was fierce because she carried responsibility heavier than most could imagine, and distant because everyone feared her strength instead of understanding it. When a minor supply miscalculation threatened to leave part of the station without life support rations, Elias took the lead with quiet confidence. Lysera assisted, her long fingers deft on the control panels, and together they improvised solutions that both averted disaster and elicited snickers from nearby staff as tools, and floating containers wobbled like chaotic satellites. By the time the crisis passed, the council, previously stiff with protocol, looked at them with a mixture of admiration and mild disbelief. Elias realized he was no longer just a human technician on a high-security alien station. He had become a bridge, a collaborator, a friend. Later, in the quiet of the observation deck, Lysera turned to him, ears swaying gently. "I chose to sit beside you," she said, voice softer than any announcement over the station's comms, "because it's been a long time since someone didn't fear me. Someone listened, laughed, and stayed anyway." Elias's chest tightened with understanding. He had begun the journey as a cautious, bemused observer of alien customs, and he ended it seeing not only Lysera's vulnerability and strength, but also the beauty of trust in a universe built on fear and protocol. As they watched the nebula spin, he made a small, self-deprecating joke about zero-gravity hairdos. She laughed, long ears flicking in genuine amusement. For the first time, he felt fully at home among the stars. The princess who everyone avoided had chosen him, not because of duty or fear or protocol, but because he had dared to be human, patient, and real. In a galaxy full of whispers and warnings, that simple act of courage had forged something enduring, bridging worlds, hearts, and stories in a way neither of them would ever forget.